What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another very exciting episode, very hot episode here on the MIgardener channel. Man, it's a roaster today. It's about 81 degrees already. It's supposed to be 83 today, and definitely strange for September, but I'll take it. Even though it's hotter than I would normally prefer, it's far better than the latter, it could be a lot colder too. So not complaining at all. We're out here in the garden having a great day and bringing another really exciting episode to you guys today. In today's episode, we're gonna be talking about speed ripening tomatoes. You guys are all like Paul Revere, you know, the frost is coming, and everyone's panicking because there's a frost coming and there's nothing that you can do about it. So what can we do? Is there anything that we can do? And there actually is. The first thing you can do to speed ripen your tomatoes is to prune the plant. Now for us, we've already single stemmed our plant. It's already growing in a single stem, there's no suckers, it's growing straight up. However, we can prune the plant again. All of this growth up here is really doing us no good. It's doing us no good whatsoever because it's just putting energy into growing rather than ripening fruit. So what we can do is we can come in here, because I know for a fact, any tomatoes that form, I'll get pruners later and cut that off, but just as an example, we can clip that off right there. And that way we're clipping off that top plant just above the last fruit that has been set, so that we know that any fruit, any fruit that was going to be additional would never have ripened anyways. All of this fruit down here is going to have energy that's going to help it ripen. That's very, very important because the plant, it's prioritizing growing and producing fruit well up into the first frost if it's an indeterminate. So that's one thing you really have to consider is, is the future fruit going to have enough time to ripen? If not, prune the plant. I know a lot of gardeners, they'll start pruning their plants in like the end of July, which I think is just a little too soon in my opinion. Just in my personal experience, I'll start pruning my plant about a month to a month and a half before my first frost date. And since our first frost date is right around October 30th, I typically start planting right around a month and a half away, which is kind of right around now. I'll start coming in and pruning off the tops of my plants to ripen up the rest of this fruit. The second method to speed ripen tomatoes is to use mulch. Now I'm not talking about mulch as in grass clippings, leaves, or wood chips. I'm talking about mulch in the sense of black plastic. Now we don't use any black plastic mulch here in our garden, but it has been scientifically proven to speed up the ripening process of tomatoes by almost 20%. So this is something that, did you see that? Just a moth just gave me a little flyby there. The black plastic has been scientifically proven to help speed up the ripening process, and that's because it absorbs solar energy. It helps to absorb solar energy because it's black and the sun beats down on it, it helps warm up the soil, and because tomatoes need warm soil to help ripen their tomatoes, this is why it works. Now it is controversial because a lot of people say, well, if the sun beats down on it, it can leach, petrochemicals into the soil. And that's up to your belief, that's up to your stance. I don't personally. But if you're someone that does not mind trying it or is in a desperate situation where you really want to try ripening your tomatoes, it has been scientifically proven. A lot of commercial farms will mulch their stuff. They'll mulch their rows from day one with black plastic because it helps just speed ripen the tomatoes. That's their option, that's their prerogative, and it's out there. So I just want to always give you guys the facts and then let you guys decide whether or not it's going to work for you or not. The third way you can help speed ripen your tomatoes is by decreasing your watering. This is another method that, again, just helps to focus energy in ripening fruit rather than create more growth. If you decrease your watering, it helps to actually stress the plant out. And normally stress is not a good thing. We talk about stress as like a bad thing on this channel. Well, it can increase pests, it can increase disease. But at the end of the season, I'm not looking at keeping this plant around for a super long time. But I do want to help ripen the fruit. So if I trade ripened fruit for, the plant getting some pests or maybe getting some disease and knocking it out, well, that's like a trade-off that I'm willing to make because I'm going to get a bunch of ripe fruit in the process. So just keep that in mind that sometimes there's a trade-off to take place, but is the trade-off getting some more ripe tomatoes? Is that trade-off worth it for you? Again, make that decision. But cutting watering in half has been shown and actually been scientifically proven to increase the ripening speed of tomatoes by about 10%. So not a huge difference, but it does help. This golden currant has been so productive. We're so happy with this. This has been one of our most productive cherry tomatoes in the garden, except for our red centiflora, which has just been obviously insane. But in terms of like a standard variety of tomato, this has been absolutely just blowing our mind. We've been getting so many tomatoes. The reason why I'm picking tomatoes is because that's the fourth way that you can help speed ripen your tomatoes. By picking ripe tomatoes, it actually is going to send a signal to try to ripen green tomatoes on the vine. This is because the tomato is putting far more energy into ripening a fruit so that the seeds inside are viable, and it makes it appealing for a bird or an animal to come by, eat that tomato, and hopefully spread its seeds around, continuing the lineage of the tomato. So what you want to do is you want to pick all that ripe fruit off so that it says, I've got no ripe fruit. I need to ripen something so I have a better chance of spreading my genetics and continuing the lineage. So it's very, very important to get off the ripe fruit. Even if it's starting to blush and it's nearing the end of the season, I'll pull it off. I'd rather take a blushed tomato inside and let it ripen all the way, even though the flavor won't be 100% there, than to let it sit on the vine and lose 4 or 5 others that could have potentially ripened up in time. So get in there, pick all those tomatoes off. You're gonna be really happy that you did, because it's gonna help to speed up the ripening process on your other tomatoes. And the 5th and final way that you can help speed ripen your tomatoes is by stopping fertilizing. I know so many people that will literally fertilize up until the very day their tomato plant dies. If you have a frost tomorrow and you're fertilizing your tomato plant today, you are definitely doing yourself a disservice, because all you're doing is, number 1, you're wasting fertilizer, but number 2, you're helping the plant to grow, and the plant does not need to grow. It needs to stop growing. As we talked about, we want to stop that growth by pruning it, and we want to help focus energy on ripening. Fertilizing only increases growth. So whether or not you're giving it nitrogen, phosphorus, or potassium, stop the fertilizing altogether, and it's actually going to do the similar thing that decreasing watering does. It's going to actually focus energy into ripening fruit, because the plant will be kind of stressed, because it'll say, I don't have any more nutrients, I can't really grow, I've got to ripen what I have. I have to be happy with what I have on the vine. So those are 5 ways that you can help speed ripen your tomatoes before the first frost. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something new. And if worst comes to worst and you get caught and a frost is coming and you still have green tomatoes, pick them, take them inside, put them in a paper bag with some apple peels or a banana, and just leave them in there, and they'll start to ripen up on their own. The flavor will be pretty bland. It'll be like a store-bought tomato, but it'll still be a homegrown tomato that you won't have to buy. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something new. And as always, this is Luke from the MIgardener channel, reminding you to grow big or go home. We'll catch you all later. See ya.